This is the To The Brim podcast, where we openly discuss all things mental health, including eating disorders, anxiety, depression, and more.
I'm Lauren, a licensed clinical social worker who specializes in anxiety, depression, OCD, and other mental health diagnoses.
And I'm Brandy, a registered dietitian who specializes in eating disorders and body image disturbance.
As healthcare providers, we know you can't pour from an empty cup.
We hope to shine a light on mental health issues in an authentic and accessible way and help you fill your mental health cup with knowledge, clarity, and validation.
This podcast is for information and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical or mental health advice.
We're excited to help you fill your cup so that you can take on life one sip at a time.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to The Brim podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about polyvagal theory. Brandy's going to teach us a lot of stuff. So first, let's check in and see where we're landing. Brandy?
Yeah, thanks. I am landing a little tired today, but I've got my caffeine. I'm feeling a little bit more caffeinated. Because I haven't been feeling that great this week, and so I've just been a little spacey. But I think I'm finally ready to dig into all this stuff today.
Good, because you're gonna be talking majority of the time.
Yeah.
To teach us about polyvagal theory.
Exactly. Yeah. So I needed my coffee, and then I'll switch to water in a little bit. That's my drink for today. How about you, Lo?
Well, you know what? I started off the same way you're starting off. I had stopped by an espresso stand and gotten a triple shot thing of coffee because I was so tired, and that's kind of how I'm landing today. Is usually little Miss sleeps really great. She'll sleep 9-ish hours with an hour in between to feed. I know. So she'll sleep 5 hours and then 4. And today she did not do that. She slept 3 hours and then was awake for an hour and then, yeah, it was crazy. It was bonkers. So I'm a little sleepy. I got my triple shot cup of coffee, and now I'm balancing things out with water. And my favorite water bottle, just not because it's a Stanley or anything, but because I've decorated it in all my favorites little stickers. So
cute.
Tired but excited to learn today. I'm always excited when I get to learn something new. So, yeah, that's how I'm landing.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, tell me what you already know about polyvagal theory.
Oh, basically nothing. You told me once upon a time that it has to do something with the nervous system, but I'm not gonna lie, I have to be told things a couple times or look at my notes or something to be able to understand things in full. So I'm excited to revisit this concept with you, and I guess I'm kind of curious where you heard of polyvagal theory and then go into a better explanation. Are you good?
Yeah, okay. Just bumped my elbow. So I first learned about it at Center for Discovery, which is an eating disorder company, and it was really cool. The way that they presented it was very related to someone's eating, right? So the way that they wrote their meal plans, even the way that they structured their meal check-ins and how the staff might redirect someone or choose to interact with someone around their eating disorder. A lot of it came back to polyvagal theory, and so when I first learned about it, I was pretty drawn to it because it's quite an interesting concept. And it wasn't originally made for eating disorders. It was, I think, first theorized by this guy, Dr. Stephen Porges, and then his work also got picked up by a therapist, Deb Dana, and so I
remember hearing about those people.
Yes,
you told me
those
about
two together are the main people that people refer to when they talk about this theory.
The stars of the show.
The stars of the show, exactly. So are you ready? Should we dig in?
I'm so ready.
Okay.
I need just a basic explanation and then dive into each piece, if you will.
Okay. Yeah. So there's actually 3 components to the whole thing of polyvagal theory. There's nuroception.
Okay.
There's co-regulation, and then there's the hierarchy, which it's kind of delved into 3 different parts itself.
And I feel like people might know what you just say, the co-regulation and hierarchy. People may have some common sense about that, but maybe the people who aren't in the scientific world, how would you describe that neuroception?
Yeah. So essentially, all of our nervous systems have the capacity to sense danger and safety.
That makes sense.
And we can do this consciously or subconsciously, right? So if we're in tune with our body and with our nervous system, we might be able to recognize something feels wrong in my gut, or I'm just having the hairs on the back of my neck stand up when something dangerous is happening. But we may not notice when our bodies are actually cueing for safety as well. And so something that like, I give the example of it being an environmental thing and a people thing.
Okay.
So we scan our environment and we scan other people, and our nervous systems scan each other, and they kind of like feed off of each other.
Cool.
So for example, for the environment one, like think about in your brain what kind of feelings might come up for you if I say you are walking home from class by yourself and it's pitch black outside.
I knew you were going to say that.
And all of a sudden, you hear some dogs barking. And then, a minute later, you think you hear some footsteps.
No.
The gravel is crunching behind you in the alley, right? So it's like, obviously, our nervous system is like peaked to react to that.
I'm like looking at the nearest building, or like my campus had those like blue poles that if you press the button, the police would show up really quick. That's already what's going through my brain. Like thinking about walking home from class, that's what I would have done.
Totally. And my brain too would be like scanning for other people. Like, is there somebody else I could maybe walk more closely to?
True.
Yeah, or can I like get my phone out and can I call someone? Can you just be on the phone with me while I walk home?
Oh my gosh. That's for one reason why I never wear headphones. Like,
sure.
And if I do, like if I have my AirPods in, they're on that like transparency so that I can hear not only my music, but I can hear everything around me. Like,
being an Android person, that is so
cool.
I'm like, what?
AirPods have like 2 versions where you can like block out the surrounding sounds, and then like transparency where you can hear everything.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, sorry.
That's great.
I know.
Great for your nervous system.
I'm being such an Apple person. I'm sorry. Anywho, okay, that's really cool. So like the environmental, but then you said that there's also like an internal version, right?
Yeah. So like we can also be scanning for cues of safety at the same time, but not quite understand that subconscious level that like if we are walking home and it's broad daylight and there's lots of people around, we have probably less cues of danger, but we don't necessarily consciously sense that, right? We're just like, okay, I'm just like living my day-to-day life, like here we go.
Interesting.
So that's like some of the differences in environment. And then people we're scanning as well, right? And so for like you and me, like we're facing each other, we're making eye contact, we're smiling at each other. Like those are all cues of safety that our nervous system reads. And then when your nervous system is giving cues of safety, my nervous system goes, oh, this is a safe person. Like I can connect with this person.
And I don't need to tell you I'm a safe person. You can just kind of like your body, not even you consciously, but your subconscious reads that I'm like a safe or trustworthy person, and so your body mimics that.
Right.
Crazy.
Even if you were meeting somebody brand new, right? I'm sure you can think of a time when like you talked to somebody and you were like, oh, like you're giving me a weird vibe. Like I don't know what it is about you, but I don't like that. Sure. Or just like somebody, maybe you're putting your groceries away in your trunk and somebody comes up to you and starts talking to you and you're just like, I don't know you. Yeah.
Especially if you're a Washingtonian, everybody just kind of like keeps to themselves. So like, why are you talking to me?
Right, like don't look at me.
Exactly.
Let me do my own thing.
Precisely.
Yeah. But even maybe if you were someone who was socially anxious, but like you maybe are going to a party and there's going to be new people there.
True.
And you meet somebody new, but you guys like hit it off. Like maybe you get some cues from them that like you're an okay person to be around.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's different than the scary cues. So
so
that's kind of our subconscious versus conscious.
Yeah, and something that you mentioned earlier had me thinking about a client. Like when you say that we have like these internal responses, I'm curious to know if like you feel like you're getting sick. Would that be anything towards polyvagal theory?
Totally. Yes. Sorry, babes. Babes need a new second. So with that hierarchy I mentioned earlier, we'll skip down to that one, then we'll come back up to co-regulation. There's 3 levels within that, and you can think of it as a ladder. That's the way that Deb Dana describes it, where at the top of the ladder is ventrovagal, where we are feeling cool, calm, collected. We can have an interaction with somebody else and feel like we are in our everyday state, right? Like we're home in our body at that point.
Okay.
And
what's that face called again?
Ventrovagal.
Ventrovagal.
Yeah.
I always have to come up with mnemonics, so that one's going to be hard for me, but continue.
Sure. And what's cool too is like we could call this whatever we wanted. Like we could call this, our safe zone, or we could call it whatever resonates with you. And then we have sympathetic, which is the kind of the middle of the ladder here. And this is our fight or flight. And this is what kind of goes to your question here of like, when we're in a sympathetic state, there's usually some kind of problem, right? Whether that is actual danger, or maybe we just get a really stinky email that we like need to address right away.
Okay.
And like our body, our nervous system's just like, okay, go time. Like, we got a problem to solve. We got to do this. Let's get it done. And then we can get back up into ventrovagal.
Okay.
So hopefully we're going to do this anyway, right? There's no perfect nervous system state to be in. We're going to fluctuate up and down these systems here.
That makes sense. Like, even like a happy email, I bet. I don't know what the next step of the ladder is, but it seems like your Amazon box has just arrived. Then you get like a little happy, like, and that's kind of the balance. It doesn't always have to be like a negative thing. Am I right?
Totally.
Okay.
You're totally right. And we'll talk about that more in a sec too.
Okay.
So then the bottom of the ladder, ventrovagal, sympathetic, is dorsovagal.
Okay. And
dorsal is, if you can imagine, like feeling like we're on the bottom of the ocean floor. Like, we're like depressed on dorsal.
I was going to say that gives me a lot of fear at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh no. So that one's not for you. That one's your sympathetic, apparently. No, dorsal is like, we're feeling hopeless, we're feeling numb, we want to dissociate. Essentially what happens is when we have that problem in sympathetic, if we can't get it solved, our body kind of freezes, right? Like they call it like folding. Like, we fall down into dorsal until we can like figure out maybe some motivation or some way to get back up into sympathetic and solve it.
Now, I have a crazy example, and I want you to tell me if it's like applicable or not.
Okay.
So, when you said like kind of like this depressed like folding, I'm thinking, being such a Disney fan, thinking about Frozen 2.
Okay.
Have you seen Frozen 2? Okay, so you know when like Elsa gets trapped and she's like frozen in the cave, and then Anna and Olaf are like in this dark cave trying to find their way out. Yeah. And then all of a sudden Olaf is like, I think I'm, dying or flurrying or whatever. Sure. And so he kind of dissipates, and Anna is like singing this super depressing song that's like the most sad Disney has ever gone. Yeah. But then she like finds her way out of the cave and is like, I just have to do the next right thing. Yes. So is that kind of like the dorsovagal where she like finds herself in the very bottom, but then she like talks her way back up to the sympathetic?
Totally.
Cool.
She, like, gets
I'm understanding.
Okay, terrible fact about that song. I love Frozen 2, and I always fast forward through that song.
Really? Is it because it makes you so sad?
Yes, and like, I just want to get like past that part so that I can get to like the action again. Like, it feels like I get it, Anna. You need to like feel your feelings and like be there in dorsal, but like, I want you to be out of dorsal so we can get to the fun part of the movie. And I always cry when, Elsa's riding back on the horse, the water horse.
Oh my gosh,
and she's just
like,
started. Oh my god, you're alive!
Disney has a crazy way of playing with your emotions, man.
It sends
Mulan was not like that. Cinderella was not like that.
You're so right.
Okay, sorry. So anyways.
What I thought you were actually going to say, though, about Disney was like when all the Disney princesses like collapse on their beds and they're like so sad because they couldn't get their way.
Yes.
Like, there we go, they're dorsaling.
Those 16-year-olds and their problems.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, good stuff. Okay, well, I'm glad I'm understanding enough to come up with my own example.
Yeah, see, like,
very cool.
We know it, we're just putting language to it.
Yeah.
Like, we really can see it and we can feel it for ourselves. But the reason it's kind of important then is to know, like, okay, if I feel myself getting out of my ventrovagal, then what do I need to do to be able to get back up to it? Right?
Does that lead you into co-regulation?
It can, for sure. Because co-regulation is essentially one of the ways that we get back up to that, right? Like we were talking about at the beginning of my system is feeding off of your nervous system, and so that calmness that maybe you exude when I am not calm can help me calm back down. And the best example that we can give, right, is for little Miss here, who that's her first thing out of the womb, right, is co-regulation with her human.
Isn't that crazy?
And so we are born all needing to co-regulate and to have connection, right?
Very cool. I feel like that happens more often than we maybe realize. Like, a very classic example, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, is like when someone is freaking out and the other person is like completely calm. So like maybe with parenting, like I'm freaking out because little miss won't stop crying, but my partner is like, everything's gonna be fine, this is just temporary or a phase, and so like one of us is kind of crazed while the other one is calm, and that kind of helps balance out the crazy.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's supportive for you, right? Because then you can have that told to you, like, it's going to be okay, and be comforted by that, right?
Totally.
Or they can just take over, right? Take the crying baby, and you can have a moment to step away and re-regulate yourself.
Sure. Another example I'm thinking of is like from The Office. Have you seen or watched The Office? Okay. From The Office, where like Michael starts his own paper company, and Pam joins him, and then like Michael was freaking out at breakfast and Pam was calm, and then they switched midday and Michael was calm and Pam was freaking out, but they like regulated each other. They were like, well, you quit your job, you can't take that back, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna do blah blah blah, and then I'm gonna go inside, you come in when you're ready. And it's like that kind of mindset, the like, we've got this. Even though I was freaking out this morning, we've got this now. It also made Pam be like, yeah, we got this.
Sure.
Things are gonna look up.
Totally.
So cool. I'm hoping that that's also relevant to other listeners.
Yeah. And I think too, the other thing to kind of say about the neuroception, the scanning of the nervous systems, is like, you could be calm, and all of a sudden, you know, your partner comes home and they're just like in a flurry about something. They're mad or they're anxious about something. And so our nervous systems can pick up on that too, and actually mirror that. I was just gonna ask. That happens a lot, like, especially with me and my partner, when he comes home and he's frustrated, I want him to vent about his day, but if it lags or keeps going and going, my mood gets ruined. I'm like, you don't need to let this ruin your day, but then my day gets ruined because we're holding on to those like aggressions. So I was just gonna ask, thank you, if that's like inverted. Yeah, it is. It is. So you had asked earlier about like feeling icky in your tummy for having these thoughts. So actually it's really cool, and a lot of people already know this actually. Like, the hormonal changes that happen when we go into sympathetic, right, are essentially adrenaline and cortisol and epinephrine dumps. Right? Okay. Because essentially when we're in sympathetic, and they talk about it as being like fight or flight, evolutionarily that was really protective to have all of these stress hormones get dumped so that we can fight or we can run away. Sense. And the other cool things too is that we have this nerve, I think it's cranial nerve 10, the vagus nerve. Okay. It's in our stem, our brain stem, and it comes down and it innervates so many different organs and things like that, like a lot of our digestive system. And we've also got like nerves like up in our jaw where our saliva is, and our eyes and our face. And so what happens when we go into sympathetic, not only do we have all of these stress hormones that dump so that we can be able to do all of these really physical things, we also have blood flow from the vagus nerve. It tells our digestive system, it's not time to be eating. It is not time to be digesting. It's not time to be going to the bathroom. Like, we're going to direct that blood flow away from our GI tract. Well, now I have a question for you, because as previous performers for like a talent show or something, like, why is it that you like feel like you have to pee and then you get on stage and like everything is just like white, like you're totally centered, focused? Like, what part of the what is it? Polyvagal piece of the theory is that? Sure. So the idea of going up on stage, right, that's the problem. That's the part that's putting us in our sympathetic. Okay. And so a lot of people feel like they have to go number 2 when they're about to go on stage. Yes. Like I'm either going to throw up or I'm going to poop, because actually, more evolutionarily story, like defecating actually would deter an animal or something else from like trying to eat us. Yeah, that was used in a movie too. Anyways, I stopped deterring. Continue. So like it makes sense that like our bowels would let loose to like maybe stave off the danger. So then yes, like we maybe run to the bathroom real quick before we go up on stage, or we hold it and we get up there, and then you're right, that sensation can kind of go away because we're just like doing the thing. Like we're just like so distracted by the actual part of singing or talking or whatever it is that we're doing. It's so cool. It's distracting enough. Sometimes it doesn't for everybody. But...
That's true. Yeah, some people like forget the lyrics or their speech or whatever. Yeah.
True.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I love this theory.
It's so fun.
And you just know it so well that any question you're just like bam, bam, bam. Oh, I love it. Okay, so then we covered like bits and pieces. Did you have like other examples of polyvagal where like all three pieces can be explained in the one scenario?
Yeah. Let me give you an example. So like, I have a client who she like really feels things in her body very sensitively.
Okay.
And so she has an eating disorder, and part of her eating disorder is purging. And when she feels too full or too heavy from eating, it's like it's too overwhelming for her. So instead of maybe she started out in ventrovagal and was fine like going into the meal, but after the meal she's feeling too heavy or she's feeling too full. Her sympathetic is kicking on because she's outside of her kind of window of tolerance of being able to tolerate that sensation. And so then she goes and gets rid of it.
Okay.
And so what we've been working on is trying to figure out how to let her deal with that anxiety piece, right? That overwhelm. And that's the part where our therapists come in so much, right? And we talked last time about DBT skills.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are the things that we're going to do to deal with the overwhelm.
Yeah,
in the
that
moment.
makes sense. Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times if she can't distract or go outside or do her temperature change or her quick intense exercise for 30 seconds, then she'll end up purging.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of what we've been working on, is like trying the skills to do the things to anchor ourselves and get ourselves back up into ventrovagal.
Okay.
Even if it takes some time, right? Like to maybe 30 minutes for that heaviness to go away. Like, okay, let's set a timer for as long as we think we're gonna need, and just do something else, and then in 30 minutes let's check back in.
Yeah.
It could be 5 minutes.
That's such a good piece to explain too, is that like you may have a DBT skill, but in that moment it's not gonna, maybe it doesn't work, maybe the skill that you have, you know, thought was going to work isn't going to work, or maybe it does work but it takes an hour. Like, you really have to show yourself some patience and grace while bouncing back and forth between sympathetic and, oh my gosh, neurovagal? What is it? Ventrovagal? I almost had it.
You're so
ventrovagal. That was where they had the neuro. Anyways, I digress. Continue with your example.
No, that was great. And then, then the other kind of thing we can do with these states as well is like tell our story through the different states. So this is something else I have patients do, of like, so say for example, someone is engaging in binge eating, and maybe I'll tell it from sympathetic first, because that's the one that we might hear the most. So you're my friend, and you're asking me how is your treatment going? How's binge eating been? And I say, oh my gosh, I'm so mad at myself. I just had another binge last night. I don't know why. I can't stop myself. I'm so out of control. I really just need to get all of this food out of the house. So there I'm telling it in my sympathetic. If I was going to tell it in dorsal, I might say, yeah, I had another binge last night, and I've just been so hopeless ever since. Like, I couldn't do anything after the binge. I just laid in bed for 2 hours, and I couldn't do anything. I had no motivation.
I totally see the difference.
And then if I told it in ventrovagal, it might sound something like this, like, oh, thanks, friend, for asking. Yeah, I'm still working on my binge eating. I had another binge last night, and usually I would get really down on myself, but I tried to remember that this is just part of the process, that it's not going to be perfect every time, and I just needed to give myself some grace. And so I went outside afterwards and just like soaked in the sun for a little bit, the last of the sunshine for the day, and just took some deep breaths, and I felt better.
Wow, I like seeing the different examples, because that gives me such a good understanding of like each component or each hierarchy.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So then how does co-regulation find its way into that example? Is it because you're communicating with a friend who's hopefully, level-headed, or like...
Yeah. So a lot of times what we might do, like in the moment, maybe going back to the gal who's struggling with purging, if she is feeling that heaviness and having a hard time choosing for herself to distract or do some of those skills we talked about, a lot of times we might say, let's body double afterwards. So body doubling, right, is like just like what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
Like, maybe we're each doing our own thing. Like you're charting on your patients and I'm charting on mine, but like we're just in the same room together, so that she isn't able to go purge because her body doubler is like, I'm your person right now. We're gonna stay together.
Okay.
It could also be like talking or watching a movie together or something, but the co-regulation piece of like, I'm your support person right now.
Yeah.
And if you need a hug, if you need me to just sit here and be with you, whatever you need, like I'm your support person.
Okay. Now, kind of veering off course, if that like co-person or co-regulator support, whatever you want to call it, if they exacerbate on the problem, how does that affect the other person's, system?
Yeah. And that happens a lot, especially in the eating disorder world of like, maybe the person is trying really hard not to be caught up in diet culture, and yet their partner is dieting or something like that.
Yeah.
It can be really tricky, and that's why like family sessions can be helpful, or just trying to have that open communication of like, I need you not to talk to me about this stuff, and when I am struggling, here's how you can help, or this is the support that I need. And just like setting those boundaries and being really clear about what is needed.
I feel like that can be really hard. At least in my client world, I've seen like, okay, we need to communicate this. How are we communicating it? Let's role play communicate things, because it's ever so hard to actually walk up to the person who's causing you problems and communicating, you're causing me problems in the nicest form of the word, but like, good gravy. So I can only imagine, like, I'm thinking, an alcoholic who's trying not to drink anymore is best friends with another alcoholic or somebody who likes to drink for fun or whatever. Yeah. And it's so much harder to be like, hey, when you're around me, can you not drink? Because that's what that person likes to do,
Totally.
And so, like, to balance out, does that mean, like, you're not friends with that person anymore? Is that person willing to, meet your boundaries or your expectations? And if not, then how do you regulate again losing that support person because they can't meet your needs?
Totally. I know, setting boundaries is really hard.
Bad cycle. Yeah. Anyways, that could be a total conversation for another day. But I'm just thinking about all these different components that can go in, because when we explain it, it sounds like so perfect on paper, but then applying it in the real world is always so much more complicated.
Totally. It is. It's complicated. And there are ways to regulate by ourselves, right? Like, we don't always need co-regulation. Sure. And sometimes, in fact, the regulating person or the ability to co-regulate isn't available. And so there's things that we can do, right? Like our DBT skills and whatnot. And there's also something called vagal toning, where, remember that vagus nerve we talked about? Especially for someone who is maybe under a lot of chronic stress or has a lot of trauma history, their neuroception can be off. So they might be sensing cues of danger when there's really cues of safety. And that puts somebody always in sympathetic, right? Like, their home away from home of being at the top of their ladder is maybe sympathetic or dorsal. Or they get stuck flip-flopping sympathetic, dorsal, and they very rarely climb all the way back up to the top.
Wow.
So we can do something called vagal toning, in addition to therapy, obviously, and other things too.
Could you imagine?
Where we stimulate our vagus nerve, because that nerve is connected to all those rest and digest features of when we're in ventrovagal. We can eat. We have salivary production. We have hunger cues. We can go to the bathroom on a regular, consistency. We don't have the nausea or bloating or heartburn that might come up. Yeah. And so, if they're struggling with those kind of things, we can stimulate the vagus nerve. And one of the ways is talking, like, our vagus nerve is right next to our vocal cord. Yeah. But things like singing or humming,
I was going to ask,
be there.
Something that regulates Little Miss sometimes, but she's like on a fuss train, is just like a low hum.
Yeah.
And it's like wild why that, regulating, but it is, it works. So it would be kind of strange to go up to your friend and be like, oh, you're having a hard time here. Right. But like you were saying, that's also something that they can do.
Yeah. And it works good to stimulate their own vagus nerve
Yeah.
that way to hum themselves. They can also gargle.
That's
another one.
interesting.
Stimulates your vagus nerve.
Okay.
You can do ear massage.
Oh, I have heard of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are some of the other ones? I'm trying to think if there's other ones at the very top of my brain here. But some of those things, right? The coal, that was the other one. Like changing your temperature.
Oh, I think it's like coal, like a
Oh.
coal mine.
No.
Cold.
Where we splash our face with cold water, or we get in a cold shower because we are stimulating our vagus nerve to tell our body like there's cues of safety.
Okay. Would like heat do the same effect? Okay.
It can. Like if we're feeling cold, to add heat.
Okay.
Kind of like just changing, flip-flopping the temperature.
That makes sense. Okay. Super cool.
Yeah. So that can kind of help get us more consistently up into ventrovagal. Things like meditation or journaling or things like that too can help, and that's probably why they do help for a lot of people. You know, the reason behind yoga or things like that.
Absolutely. That's so cool. So would you say that like the polyvagal theory could be applied to like really any situation that somebody's going through?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is a theory, so is there like some people who believe that it's not effective or it doesn't work for them?
I think just the idea that it's a theory right now is just giving different language to how to explain the nervous system.
Okay.
I think there are other ways to explain it as well. This one so far has been kind of the prevailing one.
Okay.
There is another part that I'm still kind of in the infancy stages of learning about too. But they're talking about, instead of a ladder of this hierarchy with ventrovagal and dorsal and sympathetic, that it's more like a Venn diagram.
Oh.
Because you were talking about earlier how there can be excitement, and how that's like maybe a mix, a blending of sympathetic and ventrovagal. Where we're like excited and activated for a good reason.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now that I'm thinking, like the three circles that would all like intertie to each other, but do you think that like dorsal and ventrovagal could?
I think they could.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe when we're like, we're happy, we're feeling good, but like we're just like really vibing at like a very low frequency. Like we're just reading, or we're listening to music or something like that, and we're just like, just like kind of really chill, down to earth.
I wonder, like, as an example, I have a In My Feels playlist that sometimes has like sad songs, but I'm not like sad myself. Yeah. Would that be a mix of the two?
Maybe so, yeah. Yeah.
There's so many components to this theory.
It's cool.
That make it so applicable to anybody. So like, if somebody in the car right now is like listening to the podcast, where would you place them? Like, they're just driving, they're content just listening to us. Like, where would you place them on the polyvagal theory or the hierarchy?
Sure. If they're not like stuck in traffic or getting honked at, then they're probably most likely up in ventrovagal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And somebody who's like doing the dishes at home, not super happy to be doing chores, but they're listening to us still, would they still be in ventrovagal?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe there's a little bit of a mix of sympathetic in there too. Okay. Just like, got to get this chore done.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's like another example that would be super relatable. Like, what if they had to listen to us for a class assignment?
Oh.
Not that I think we'll ever get that big, but they have to listen to this podcast as an assignment for their class, and they're just like, gosh, can these girls talk any longer? Like, then where would you put them?
Ooh, I'm thinking maybe a blend between sympathetic and dorsal. Maybe they're just like ready to check out, but like they're mad too.
Okay, I did it. I hit all 3 points. That is
awesome.
So cool. So what made you want to like hang tight to polyvagal? Like, what about it makes you so like hype for it, if that's even a English term to say about it?
Yeah, like excited about it.
Yeah.
You
hit
like
your wagon.
Yeah, like I think when I was telling you, I like first learned about it and learned like how it applies to food. That was cool to me. Like learning about how our digestive system changes, and that there's like a reason why we feel icky or we feel better when we're eating. And to help my patients who in eating disorders need a lot of regulation around food specifically, we're asking them to eat when food is the one thing that they definitely don't want to eat.
Sure.
So there's a lot of anxiety already coming up. There's a lot of usually malnutrition too that we're dealing with, so they don't have hunger and fullness cues. or they have a lot of physical symptoms because they haven't been eating enough, but still eating more causes more symptoms for them until they're eating more consistently. And so just explaining this to patients really helps them understand, like, okay, there's a reason why I feel anxious right now. And I know that I have tools in my back pocket to try and work through my desire to restrict or whatever it is to like get through this food. Or for somebody like with ARFID who maybe has that really high disgust response to trying a new food, to help them regulate before they sit down to eat a new food or a food that's usually gross to them, and be like, okay, I can do this, like kind of work up the courage to do it and to try it for the first time, and either to have that disgust response and to know what to do with it so that they're not panicking, right? Or to like have that realization of like, oh, this was actually not as bad as I thought, and to be able to kind of have that mindfulness in the moment to notice the taste or notice the texture and have it be okay to have more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of on the mental health side of that, I'm curious like how it can be ever so relative to people with anxiety, because I feel like anxiety really spiked after COVID, and there's like a plethora of diagnoses of anxiety. So like somebody who is anxious or like perfectly content and then to anxious, can you just give a good rundown of how polyvagal theory relates to that?
Sure. Yeah, I can do the best I can as a dietitian.
Yeah, I might jump in if I feel like I understand it, but go ahead.
Totally. Like to maybe explain to them that they have this hierarchy, right? And it can be helpful. I think we've maybe talked about this in another episode too, to kind of do that like mapping of, let's see, when I feel regulated, these are kind of how I'm feeling. And when I start to notice that I'm getting outside of my regulated state, one, can I be mindful that it's like of it happening and catch it sooner and try and do some of my skills before it gets terrible.
Sure. Or,
oh no, like somebody said something to me and I went from 0 to 100 and I'm already pissed and I want to lash out or whatever.
Sorry, little miss is waking up.
No, you're good. Or I'm having more anxiety because of a situation at work and it was instantaneous. Then to know, like, okay, this is my nervous system having a reaction. And there are things that I'm working on with my therapist of like ways to stimulate my vagus nerve to calm back down, or like my CBT or ACT kind of work throughs, like an ABC worksheet or things like that, to get back to feeling better.
Now you said a lot of like, what's the right word? Not numbers, letters.
Oh, sorry.
You said a lot of letters all in a string there. So, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, ACT, acceptance commitment therapy.
Yep, good job.
And what was the last one you just said? Oh, ABC data, which is antecedent behavior consequence. Just as a rundown for people who didn't know that.
So if you need some ideas to bring up with your therapist of, hey, I heard about this on the podcast. What is this?
So then, I mean, like you said, you can work through using those skills that, maybe hopefully you're working on with a therapist. But like as maybe an example of anxiety, maybe you are nervous to go, let's see, a client actually said nervous to go get gas because they live in a sketchy part of Washington and, either there's been, like robberies, I guess is what I would call it. Like as you're pumping gas, somebody would like go into your car and steal your purse, or there's gunshots or like shootings happening. So they're afraid to go get gas.
Sure,
to say the least. So like as they have to go to the gas station, they may say to themselves like, I don't need to go, and they avoid the whole thing. They're like, I'll have my husband go get my gas later. They maybe have a different outlook. So as somebody who's avoiding the situation, where would you place them on the hierarchy?
Probably in sympathetic, because there's that response to flee, right, or to avoid the whole thing. It's not really solving the problem, so it also could be maybe a mix in the dorsal as well. Okay. Just like feeling like I'm just gonna avoid the whole thing. Yeah, there's no chance.
I'll never be able to go fill up my gas tank ever again. Okay, exactly. That makes sense. And then as they work on those skills in therapy, and they slowly work their way up to pumping their own gas, maybe they only fill like $5 instead of $50. You know, they don't fill their tank, but give themselves like a little snippet to like continue. They're working on those skills, but like then where would you place them? Like they're not fleeing, they're working through it, but would they still be in sympathetic?
If they're still feeling anxious about it, right? Like the point of those exposures you're talking about, right, is to be anxious, but to know how to deal with it.
Exactly.
In small doses at first.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. And so then the day that this anxious person can go fill up their gas tank and not be anxious at all, then they're back in ventrovagal.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we understand it.
All right.
So now I'll be able to teach my clients.
Yay!
This is really fun. I like this theory a lot. I think it just makes a lot of sense. And like you said, there's a lot of tools to regulate, what did you call it, that ventral nerve?
Yeah, the vagus nerve.
Vagus. Oh, there's so many V's in this conversation.
There are.
Vagus nerve. Like, going to Vegas. Woo!
Right.
I have to do mnemonics, because otherwise I'm not going to remember. Right, Ellie?
It's a good way to do it.
Oh, she's feeling a little sympathetic. Is that the right way to say that?
Yeah.
She's in her sympathetic session.
There's a problem that she needs fixed.
I think we need out. Sorry, everybody. Ellie needed some co-regulation. What a real-life example. She woke up from her nap and has troubles kind of like getting out of that groggy phase. So Auntie Brandy, you know, took her to the window, bounced her, we introduced some colors. Yeah, you still tired, sis.
Yawn.
So, what a great way to conclude the polyvagal theory with a real-life example.
Yes. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time on To The Brim.
Bless you.
Bless you.